Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our first freshman family orientation this summer. We're really excited that you are here to join us to talk about how you can help your student be as successful as possible for their TU journey. So to get us started this morning, just a couple housekeeping items. You should be able to use the chat feature to chat with myself and other presenters throughout the day. If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we will try to get to them as we can. You are muted, and so that just helps us make sure that everyone can hear the presenters as they speak. So chat is the best way to get questions to us. So my name is Catherine Canals. I am the Assistant Director of New Student and Family Programs. My primary role is working with our families. So I will be your point of contact for the rest of your students' time here at TU. And I am joined this morning by two of our fantastic TU student leaders. So Grace, if you want to introduce yourself, and then Denise. Oh, I have it set so you can't unmute. Hang on. All right, there you go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Grace. I'm the Student Director for Family Engagement, and I'm going into my senior year at Towson, and I'm a nursing major.
Hi, everyone. My name is Denise. I am a returning orientation leader, and I am going into my junior year here at Towson.
Excellent. So if you have any questions that you would like for a student to answer, we do have them with us this morning so that they can give you the real life expert perspective. The first thing that we are going to talk about this morning is about the general transition from your student's experience as a high school student versus a college student. Since you are family members of freshman students, we know that it can be a really challenging transition. And so we want to make sure that you have the resources that you need. I'm going to do a quick check-in. Grace, are we seeing my presentation?
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And so we want to talk a little bit about supporting your tiger. So in general, TU has over 20,000 undergraduate students. So your student is joining a large institution with a lot of stuff to do, which has definitely its benefits and also sometimes its challenges. Half of our students enter as transfer students. And so your student will be joined by about 3,500 incoming freshmen this year. TU has 6 academic colleges. Your student might be entering TU knowing which college they intend to be a part of. They might be open and undecided, and that's okay too. And then TU offers a diverse community where students are exposed to different backgrounds and perspectives. We really pride ourselves on our students learning and growing in a diverse capacity here at TU. Thinking about the transition, it is a big transition for everyone, you included as a family member. And so we recognize that there are a lot of feelings and emotions and a lot of things to consider, especially now when we're dealing with the extra layer of working around coming out of the pandemic and having all of those issues as well. Something to think about is that college provides students with an opportunity for autonomy and growth. And so your student is going to be in the driver's seat. And that can be new and scary too. Families provide critical support and contribute to student success. So that is something that I will probably reiterate over and over. It is not our position that you should disengage from your students' experience now that they're a college student. It's just that the way that it is appropriate to engage is changing. And so your connection to your student, your ability to act as a support person is critical to student success. That's been shown over and over that students who have a solid support network are more successful academically and socially in college. and everyone's asking for help. So we are here for you. We don't want you to not ask a question because you think you should already know it, or you're embarrassed to ask. We are here to help you. So things to think about when talking to your student about transition is to discuss expectations. Breakdown in communication happens often when you have not laid explicitly out your intentions for your new relationship for your college student. And so you can have expectations for them, but also give them space to provide expectations for you, that maybe you give them a little more grace time in when you call them if they're not able to get to it. Maybe your expectation for how long it takes them to get back to you can be extended. Making sure that you have that conversation out in the open. Encouraging your student to get help when they need it is absolutely vital. I also want to make sure to highlight that it doesn't say get help for your student when they need it. It is your role and responsibility to make sure that you're encouraging them to take steps to look out for themselves. And so part of what we're going to talk about today are the different resources and things that are available for them here at TU. And so with your background and knowledge and knowing about those resources, you'll be able to point them to different places that will be helpful for them. It's okay for your student to make a mistake. I hope that you all know that most of the mistakes that your student will make in college are not unrecoverable. And so allowing them time and space to process and grow from those mistakes is a huge part of being in college. And so we as a campus like to help them work through that, and we hope that you will extend the same patience and grace to them as well. And then succeeding in college, it comes mostly from self-motivation and resiliency. And so we want to encourage you to allow your student to find the things that drive them. The things that are going to make them most successful aren't necessarily going to be you telling them to do something anymore. And so it might not be in your best interest to outline for them exactly when they're going to study and when they're going to do their homework and check in on them in that way. But encouraging them to find the things that are so meaningful to them that it will drive them to work is going to be in everyone's best interest. I just got a question in the chat. Will this presentation be posted somewhere on the TU website? We're going to actually post this recording to the TU website, so you definitely will have access to it. So the next thing I want to talk about is tasks for families, because you have the lovely to-do list that your student has. They're going to be asked to do a lot of different things to prepare to come to TU. And they have a lot of transitional tasks as well. But we've outlined here some transitional tasks for you as family members, so you can think about what your new life is going to look like while they are engaging in their exciting new college life. So transitioning to a level of change in parental responsibility. And so like I've referenced, you are no longer in the driver's seat at this point. Your student is in the driver's seat and you are acting as a coach, an advisor, a champion. And that feels different. It can be challenging, it's hard. And that can be an important task for you to work through any feelings around not being in charge anymore. Establishing an identity as a parent of an emergent adult. That can be challenging if you've built your social life around your connections to your child's friends, parents. Establishing a new identity as a parent of an adult can be hard. In correlation to that, adjusting to a new family dynamic, routine, and involvement. And so if your time has been filled up running to soccer practice and school plays and all sorts of things, you might find that you're spending your time a little differently. And so that can be really challenging if maybe you aren't as busy as you were, or if your level of involvement with your students' activities aren't at the same place. We hope that you might be able to come join us and come to your students' activities and all of that great stuff. But we just want to make sure that you think through what your experience might be like with your student now in college, even if they're not leaving home. I think it's important to note that if your student is commuting and staying at home, that still means that there's a transition for you. Life is not going to be exactly the same, even if they are not moving out. Reevaluating your life's purpose and goals. I would guess that you have a lot of hopes and dreams for your student, and that is really great and really exciting. And when you were parenting or supporting a smaller child, your hopes and dreams are their hopes and dreams. But now they are adults and they are managing those on their own, and so reevaluating your own life purpose and goals can be a part of this transition as well. Coping with changing social relationships, like I said, if your social network was entirely centered around your student, that can be a really challenging transition. And so thinking about what you can do to establish, either maintain your social network or establish new ones, volunteering, finding new activities to do. There's lots that you can do in that transition. And then managing emotions in relation to students' emerging independence. It's really, really tough to let go a little bit. And even though we're asking you to be involved, that level of involvement is really different. And we recognize that that can be very challenging. And so just know that we know it's hard when you are managing that and emotions are high when you come see us and for move-in, we get it. And so we're here to help you. And we want you to know that we know that it's hard for you, not just for your student. And so, one of the ways that we encourage you to start thinking about changing your relationship to your student as far as a decision maker versus a coach, a champion, an advisor is something that we call appreciative inquiry. An appreciative inquiry is a way that we can encourage students to chart their own path, make their own decisions while serving as a sounding board, as an advisor. And so the first step of appreciative inquiry is discover. So ask what your student's life is like at Towson. Ask what is going well. What classes do they find interesting? What new extracurricular activities did they try that they didn't have a chance to before in high school? The important thing about this is while you certainly will be helping them navigate probably some of the tougher things in college, that you want to ask them questions that focus on what's going well, what do they like, what do they enjoy, so that they can really delve into what's going to make sense for them moving forward. The next step is to dream. So thinking about the things that are going well, things that they like, maybe a class that stood out to them that they never thought they'd take. What does the way forward look like? What careers are possible for them? What are they thinking they're going to do after Towson? And creating a positive vision for the future is highly motivating to students. At this point, we are not saying no to anything. Anything is possible in the dream stage. And it's when we move into the design phase of developing a shared vision and an action plan that you can start getting serious about those details and what's feasible. And I think this design piece is where you're really important as an advisor. And so students might be asking you what makes sense as a next step to get to where they want to go. And so you can certainly provide recommendations. That's where all of these resources we're going to talk about come into play today. Like you can reference all of those resources and send them to the appropriate place on campus. We really want you to be involved in your students' planning there. And then delivering support. That's the most, by far, the most important part. Is that your student relies on you for support. And so having that positive influence, having that champion for them who says that they can do it, and when they stumble, pick them back up is beyond important. And so you'll notice that appreciative inquiry model goes in a circle. And that's because a lot of times our students will go through this several times. They think they know what they want to do, and they get drawn in a different direction from something they experience here on campus. And that's great. We're excited to see what kinds of things your student will explore while they're here on campus. So next, I'm going to go through some important resources that you might want to take advantage of here on campus. And while I'm going through these, Grace and Denise, if you have anything you think of that you want to add or that was useful to you as a student, just go ahead and unmute yourself. Just let me know. So our first resource is the Cook Library. So we've got plenty of study space for your student. We do have study space beyond the library. A lot of our academic buildings are open to allow students to study in them. But Cook has lots of great study space, including a 24-hour study space. They have subject librarians and research assistants who can help your students with their papers and assignments. And then, of course, like a library does, they provide access to books and articles. So there are lots of great things in Cook. And I cannot forget the Starbucks because that's what all the students want to know about. Did I miss anything? Cool. Our counseling center. So our counseling center provides a lot of great support for our students in both individual counseling, group counseling for particular issues. So if your student wants to talk to peers about certain issues, they have group counseling. They have a meditation room. And so that's popular for students who want to use their massage chairs and just relax. And then the counseling center does have a lot of peer educators because a lot of times our students would prefer to hear from a peer. But our counseling center really does have a lot of robust offerings, and they do offer same day appointments for students who are experiencing crisis and need to talk to a counselor. They are there and can talk to your student the same day. And so we never want your student to not seek help because they don't think they will get help in time or that those resources aren't available to them. So we really hope that you will encourage your student to use the counseling center. And I always like to point out, your student does not have to be in crisis to use the counseling center. It's fantastic to address everyday worries, to get ahead of things. Like maybe their life is going pretty good, but it could always be better. And so the counseling center is a great place for all students. Our Center for Student Diversity offers a lot of multicultural organizations. They also, I'm sorry, I'm going back to the counseling center because I got a question in the chat about it. How are the sessions paid for the counseling center? The first few sessions for the counseling center are free to students. So if they need extended counseling, they might refer to your student to a community provider. And so in that case, then it would be with your insurance and figuring out how those sessions are paid for, but counseling sessions through the counseling center are free to students. And their hours, I'm not certain of off the top of my head, but they do their website, towson.edu/counseling will have their hours. And they also do affiliate with a hotline. So your student has access to counseling services 24/7. So there are, there's never a time when your student does not have access. Are the credentials of counselors listed on the website? That I'm not sure, but I do know all of our counselors are credentialed, and many of our counselors are doctoral interns, and so they are all licensed counselors. So Center for Student Diversity, like I said, hosts a lot of our multicultural organizations, of which there are many. So any of your students' identities, they can be looking for an organization that is identity-based. Our Center for Student Diversity also hosts diversity speakers for the whole campus, as well as cultural competency workshops. So they really support our campus in serving our our diverse student population, our diverse staff and faculty population. And so they're a great resource for all of our students. I'm going to skip that one for freshmen. And then Tutoring and Learning Center. So the TLC provides a lot of academic resources for your student. Peer tutoring, so either one-on-one or small group tutoring, workshops on study skills. And so different from tutoring where you're focusing on a specific subject or topic, the workshops can be about general academic success. So things like time management, how to study for exams, how to be a good note taker. They have workshops about like more general academic success. Academic coaching, so where they would work one-on-one with your student on some of those academic success skills. They've got plenty of online resources. So if your student is in their residence hall and not looking to go over to the Tutoring and Learning Center, they can always hop on online. They host study groups, and they also run the supplemental instruction program where a student who has been successful in the course that your student is in will attend class with your student and then run additional sessions for your student so that they can really master the material. Is there contact information for the TLC? I don't have it off the top of my head, but Grace, could you get contact information for the TLC? Thank you. Are there any other questions about those resources, or Denise, can you think of other resources that we should give to these families?
Yes. I don't know if you mentioned the writing center. I went there for like if I had papers or essays that I had to write, and they would help me try to like understand the question better, or if there's any like tips or advice they would have, they would provide it to me. Also PALS, which stands for Peer Assisted Learning Session. It was on Blackboard for us last year, where it was like a course underneath the courses where you would click on it and it would tell you like the different times that they had like tutoring online, and you would like ask them a bunch of questions that you would need, and it correlated with like different courses. So for mine, I'm a biology major, so I had like a whole bunch of science courses that I needed to take, and assignments that I sometimes didn't really understand how to do, and they would help me along with those assignments. Yeah, but those are all.
Excellent, thank you. We did get a couple questions in the chat. Is there a cost for supplemental instruction? No, but I will say that supplemental instruction is not offered for every course that your student would have to look to see if their course is designated as SI. And then a question about IEP resources. So if your student is seeking accommodations, that goes through the Accessibility and Disability Services Office. So ADS is where you want to start, and on their website. So if you go to towson.edu and search ADS, they have a page specifically for getting started. And so they'll help you walk through how you get your student set up to receive the appropriate accommodations for them. And then Grace just put in the chat contact information for the Tutoring and Learning Center. Thank you, Grace. All right. So thinking about your role at the university, you are so important, and we hope that you already know that, but we don't want to downplay the importance that you have in your students' life and in their success in school. And so we just want you to know that we're here to help you, and we know that you're important to your student. We're hoping that you can help exhibit patience, tolerance, and support if they change directions, if they change their major 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, which is the average. The average student changes their major 3 times. That you are patient with them and you help support them. That you encourage resiliency in your student, and that might look like helping them talk through their emotions and feelings. It can look like helping them make an action plan to recover from a stumble, but hopefully you can help your student stick it out. And then just taking care of yourself and giving yourself a round of applause for the hard work you've done to get your student up to this point. We appreciate it. As folks who work with thousands of incoming students, we know that your students are coming from amazing families, great places, and it's so lovely to be able to have them here and then have you join our Tiger family as well. So today you are going to hear from the bursar's office and financial aid, academic advising, health center. I missed housing and residence life. They'll have a representative, and the Towson University Police Department. And so you'll be able to ask some quick questions. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of time for questions for each of those offices, but I will say if you reference the email that you received or check our website, towson.edu/families. There are additional sessions that cover single topics. And so if you leave today finding that you still have questions, you do have the opportunity to attend a session that's solely about one of these offices and ask them more questions as well. So with that, I am going to see if, oh, I see Mr. Tom Ruby here. And then let's see if our other presenter is here as well. Oh, yes, she is. All right. Well, then I'm going to pull up our presentation for the bursar and financial aid offices. And then I will turn it right over to them.
Well, good morning. My name is Tom Ruby. I'm the director of the bursar's office here at Towson University. I'm better known as the chief bill collector here at Towson. I'm going to talk to you about the bursar's office. The bursar's office is the student business office. We have two primary roles or functions. One is to bill, and two is to collect. That is our primary focus. If I could have the next slide, please. So your student will be receiving a bill for the upcoming fall semester. We bill every semester. So it will be an e-bill. We do not send any paper bills home. We are utilizing an electronic billing system, and your student will receive an email from the bursar's office to their TU email address. And that TU email address is the only means that this university communicates with all students. So it's very important that your student does look for their emails through their TU email address. Now, the e-bill for the upcoming fall semester will be itemized from the standpoint that it will reflect tuition. It will reflect each one of the mandatory university fees. That would be technology, the SGA, the athletic fee, the auxiliary fee. Any other ancillary charges will also be posted on the account as itemized. If your student is living in university housing inventory, not the capstone properties, but university inventory, it will be itemized. If your student has a meal plan, it will be itemized on the bill. If your student is receiving their textbook electronically, it is a university store digital access fee in lieu of having a hard book. That would be itemized. So it will be very easy to follow. If there are any credits, any payments that are reflected on the account, they will likewise be itemized. So if your student is receiving financial aid, all the financial aid will be itemized from the standpoint of federal loans, grants, scholarships. They will be all itemized. If there are any check payments, credit card payments, they will also be itemized on the account. Now, here at Towson, we confirm the student's class schedule with full payment. And we do that for every semester and for all students. After the initial semester bill has been paid, if your student does generate any new charges on their account, they will receive a monthly account statement. Again, the bursar's office will send an email to your student and informing them that they have an e-bill available for their monthly statement. And again, any new charges will be also itemized on this account. So it is very easy to follow. And we do utilize a third party who manages and processes our e-bills, and that company's name is TouchNet. They work directly with us from the standpoint of our e-bill system. Could I have the next slide, please? So for your student registering for the upcoming fall semester, their due date for their fall semester bill will be September 8th. Now, our continuing students, their bills are due much earlier. Their bills are due the 1st of August. But we understand that freshmen and transfer students sometimes have some issues to work out either with financial aid or other means to pay their bill. So we do extend a bill payment due date until September 8th. That only applies for the first semester. After that, we regard all students to be continuing, and their bill will be due for the fall semester in early August. And for the spring semester, it will be due in early January. Could I have the next slide, please? Now, we have various methods of payment. Now, I personally like cash. I like cash a lot. However, we do take cash, but please don't ever send any cash through the mail. If you would come to the bursar's office, to our payment center, we'll be more than happy to take your cash, and we'll be happy to give you a receipt for it. If you're paying by check or money order, you want to make that check or money order payable to Towson University. And in the memo section of the check or the money order, please note your student's name and their TUID number. Now, we also use TouchNet, who provides our e-bills. They also provide to the university and to our students a payment portal. And we are finding that many of our students and their parents are taking advantage of paying with an e-check or an ACH payment. Very easy to do. You would come to the TouchNet payment portal. You would select that you want to pay by e-check or ACH payment. You would identify the checking account or the savings account and the amount that you want to pay. It's an automatic process directly onto the account. It's very simple to use. Now, we also receive and we do accept wire transfers. There are certain situations whereby you may be utilizing a bank, a credit union, another lending institution, and they wish to make the payment for your student's bill through a wire transfer. We do accept wire transfers. However, there is some information that the bank or the credit union or the lending institution would need so that that wire transfer would be successful and be posted directly onto your student's account. That information is right on the bursar's website. You would come to the bursar's website and there is a link of information about wire transfers, and that information would be utilized to provide to the bank or the credit union or the lending institution. We also accept third-party payments. Third-party payments, and let me give you a couple of examples of that. Maybe your company provides some or all of the cost of education for your student. That would be a third-party payment, meaning that be coming from a third party. Maybe your student will be receiving VA benefits. That would be a third-party payment. Maybe you are a member of Maryland Prepaid College Trust. That would be a third-party payment. Now, one thing that we need to know is if your student will be receiving a third-party payment, you need to contact the bursar's office as soon as possible. Provide us with the information that a third-party payment will be made, and we can note that onto your student's account, knowing that that third-party payment will be coming. In some cases, we may need to help you with processing a invoice for that third-party payment, and we'll be more than happy to help you with that process. But most important, if you are receiving any type of third-party payment, please contact the bursar's office. One of the bursar associates will be more than happy to help you, and we can note that information onto your student's account. Credit card. Now, we, the bursar's office and the university, do not accept credit card payments for semester bills. We just don't accept any credit cards. However, TouchNet, our third-party payment portal agent, does accept credit card. They accept MasterCard, Visa, Discover, American Express. But they do assess a convenience fee, and that convenience fee is 2.85% of the amount that you would be charging on to your credit card. Next slide, please. So here at Towson, we do have an installment plan for semester bills. It's called the Tiger Installment Plan, or better known, we like to use the phrase TIP. And here's really how it works. You can schedule as many as 4 monthly payments instead of that one balloon payment for a semester bill. Now, we are currently in the process of getting that set up for the fall semester. It is a self-enrollment. You would come to the bursar's website and you would find the link for the Tiger Installment Plan, and you would be signing up for those installments based upon a budget that you have identified. That could be the full amount of the semester bill. It could be a partial amount of the semester bill, whatever budget you would like to set up. Now, you would be identifying how that payment would be made, either as a ACH e-check payment or a credit card payment. And that would be due approximately the 10th of each month while the Tiger Installment Plan is enforced. So they would be automatic payment processes, and the our agent would be notifying you by email in advance to let you know that a payment that you had identified as the method, either a ACH payment or a credit card payment, would be made by the 10th of that month. It works out very well. When my daughter was a freshman here, I took advantage of the TIP program for her education. As a matter of fact, I utilized it for her entire academic career here at Towson. And it worked out very well. Very easy to manage. It was very easy to enroll. There is a small enrollment fee, however, that is assessed for each semester as it relates to a processing fee that we utilize. Could I have the next slide, please? So here at Towson, we have to follow federal regulations. And one of the federal regulations that both the bursar's office and the Office of Financial Aid is engaged in is the release of information. And we are obligated, based upon the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, better known as FERPA, we can only provide that information to the student. It is their financial account or their financial aid information account. So we can only disclose that to the student by federal regulations. However, the student can provide authorization to parents or other individuals by completing the release of information form, which is on the TU Online Services account. They can identify as many individuals that they would like that we would be able to talk with on the telephone about their either financial account or financial aid. But without that information, we can only talk to the student. So we really want to make sure that your student takes the time to go ahead and authorize you and any other individuals that they feel that should have authorization to be signed up for the release of information form that is on the TU Online Services account. Now, we are able to identify the individual who we will be speaking with some information that was provided on that account, but it works out very well. But again, without that release of information, we can only talk to the student. And we really invite you to make sure that your student does sign up to have you as an authorized user. Could I have the next slide, please? So at this time, I'm going to turn the program over to one of my colleagues from the Office of Financial Aid, and they're going to talk a little bit about the financial aid and the Office of Financial Aid. And then I'll be back at the conclusion of their talk with a little bit more information about the Bursa's office. Deb, the program is all yours.
Thank you, Tom. Hi, my name is Deb Lonsdale. I'm one of the financial aid advisors here, and I'm going to go over a few just basic things about the FAFSA and financial aid and how they work here. I'm going to go ahead and let you watch the slides real carefully, and we'll start with financial aid starts with the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. I'm hoping that a lot of people have gone ahead and filled out the FAFSA for 2021-22 academic year. It is available. It has been available since October 1st. Each FAFSA does become available every October 1st. So you're going to do a FAFSA for every year that you would like financial aid. So those of you who have not filled out that FAFSA yet, it's not too late. You can go ahead and do that. We still have a number of the large federal programs to consider your eligibility and offer you some financial aid once you've completed the FAFSA. You can go ahead and change the slide, please. Thank you. So every year, the Department of Education selects a portion of FAFSA applicants to complete the verification process, which basically just reviews the accuracy of the FAFSA data. If you are selected, we will notify you, or excuse me, your student by email. So it's really important to be checking the TU email. And it's a very simple process. It involves a verification worksheet, which is online, that can be filled out by the student and the parent. The easiest thing to do when you fill out the FAFSA is to use the IRS data retrieval tool, which will plug in the tax year information right into the FAFSA. So this particular FAFSA 21-22 uses the 2019 income information. If you are not able to use the IRS data retrieval tool, you can certainly go ahead and submit a signed copy of a tax return or the tax transcripts for us to get all the information for the verification process. It's really important to go ahead and respond to our emails and finalize this process, because basically the financial aid is not finalized, and it will not be able to disperse and be ready to pay the bill until this verification process is complete. So it's important to respond if you are selected. Next slide, please. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the loan options that are available through the federal government and the private sector. The first one I wanted to definitely highlight are the federal student loans. They are guaranteed, no cosigner is necessary. It is in the student's name. There are two different kinds of student loans available. The first is a subsidized loan, which is need-based, so not all students are eligible for it. However, it does not accrue interest while the student is in school. And the second loan is the unsubsidized student loan, and everyone is eligible for this loan. However, it does accrue interest while they're in school. If you are eligible for both, we recommend that you accept the subsidized loan first because of the fact that it's not going to accrue interest while you're in school. You'll want to go ahead and accept or decline any of the loans that we offer you. And as a first-time borrower, the student will need to, after they've accepted the loan, do the entrance counseling and master promissory note online at, it's actually studentaid.gov, studentloans.gov will also get you there. And those are just a one-time thing. As a first-time borrower here, you will not need to fill that out after every, school year that you accept loans. Next slide, please. Second type of loan is the Federal Parent Plus loan. This is for the parent. And we do encourage parents, if they are thinking they might need some additional funding, to apply now because the processing time for the financial aid office as we approach the bill and through the summer increases. So we encourage you to get that application out there right away. The parent does apply separately. They are put through a credit check. If they are approved, then they will go ahead and do their own master promissory note. If for some reason the application is denied, there are 3 options that can be considered. The first would be to appeal that decision. The second would be to get an endorser for the loan. And the third is where the student can actually ask and request additional unsubsidized student loan be awarded to them because the PLUS loan was denied. Next slide, please. The third option is what's considered or called the alternative student loan. It's a private loan. Again, we encourage you to apply now if the student would like to have these additional funds because, again, of the processing time that increases over the summer. This also is a separate application, and it's the student that is applying to a private lender, which would be a bank or a credit union. We often find that the lenders do require a cosigner for approval of the loan for main reason of the fact that we are certainly dealing with students that don't have a lot of credit to take a look at. So you might want to just be aware of that. And then we also encourage you as you look for these loans to compare the terms and interest rates because they will vary. Next slide, please. So how does having your financial aid ready help you be prepared to pay the bill? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is meet our priority loan deadline if you can. We did set it for June 1st, so obviously we're past that right now. So we want you to just go ahead and consider what you're going to need to help you out with the bill. That's going to be accepting any of the offers you have, whether they're grants or scholarships, and then of course considering the student loans, the parent loans, or if you're interested in an alternative private loan. So you want to have all those prepared and ready and all the steps taken, such as the master promissory note and things like that, so that that is ready to disperse, which will happen on August 20th of this year. And then if you do have any excess aid, it will generate a rebate check to be used for other educational expenses that the students will have. And if for some reason you're not able to get this all put together, then we just encourage you to be prepared to maybe pay out of pocket or sign up for the TIP program to help avoid a late fee. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Ruby. Thank you.
Okay, so as Deb was outlining, that if there is surplus funds onto your student's account, a credit balance, the bursar's office is responsible for making sure that any refunds, financial aid rebates are dispersed back to the student. It is their account, so we will be dispersing any refunds or financial aid rebate back to the student. Now, we utilize another business partner, and that is Bank Mobile. Bank Mobile handles all of our refunds and financial aid rebates. We've utilized them for many years. They do a very successful job. Now, what is important to your student is they need to identify how they would like to receive their refund or their financial aid rebate. There are a couple options. The first option is an electronic fund transfer to a checking account or savings account. Again, an electronic fund transfer to a checking account or savings account that the student would identify. The second option would be a paper check that would be mailed to the address that the student identifies when they sign up with Bank Mobile. The third option is actually a default option. And the default option would be a paper check that would be mailed to the address that is in the student information system. Now, I'll be very honest with you. The best way for refunds and financial aid rebates to be dispersed to your student would be through an electronic fund transfer to a checking account or a savings account. Bank Mobile will notify your student by email when that money is in that checking account or savings account. It's the most expeditious way to get their funds. The paper check obviously has a downside, and the downside is that it goes through the United States Postal Service. Maybe some of you have realized that the United States Postal Service has had some issues as it relates to the delivery of mail. So, that is a downside. However, there are some individuals who would rather just have a paper check. And to avoid the default, having a paper check again mailed because no selection was made, it really is good for the student to identify. Now, you can certainly help your student with this. Now, one last point that I want to make. Some of these financial aid rebates, refunds are some significant amounts of money. It may be good for you to open a joint account with your student, either a checking account or savings account, so that you could help them manage these funds. Here at Towson, we have the State Employee Credit Union. There is a small satellite facility on our campus. There is PNC Bank, which is located in our student union building. It's a actual brick and mortar bank. There are multiple banks that surround this campus, but it may be very good for you to open with your student a joint account so that you can help them manage these funds that they would be receiving as it relates to a financial aid rebate or a refund based upon any credit balances that are on their account. Could I have the next slide, please? So the federal government back in the 70s had enacted a higher education tax credit for out-of-pocket payments related to higher education. This institution, as well as all universities and colleges, are required by the IRS to provide what is called a 1098-T tax form for any out-of-pocket payments that are made associated with the cost of education. We are obligated to provide that tax credit form to the student on or before the 31st of each tax year. And we always maintain that regulation. However, we do have this form as a electronic form. However, the IRS requires the student to sign up to receive the electronic form. And we normally have this electronic 1098-T form available approximately 2 weeks before it is actually due on the 31st of January. However, the student does need to sign up for it. And they can sign up for the electronic 1098-T by coming to the bursar's website. And there is a link whereby they can acknowledge that they would like to have that form provided to them electronically. And the bursar's office will send them an email when the form is available for them to access, and they can print it for the purpose of filing a tax return. And most likely it's going to be your tax return, because you're going to be, as the parent, take advantage of this tax credit for your financial dependent. But we asked everybody to go ahead and take advantage of signing up for the electronic version of the 1098-T tax form. Next slide. Okay, so here are some action items that are very important. As Deb outlined, you need to complete and your student needs to certainly check their financial aid to-do list. Again, I want to emphasize that the university and all university offices communicate with your student through their TU email address. So they need to be checking that on a frequent basis. And they should be checking their financial aid to-do list to make sure that all items are completed. The next item, of course, is to complete all of your loan applications. And you need to do that as soon as possible. As quickly as you can will certainly help the Office of Financial Aid to process those applications for you so that any financial aid can be dispersed onto your student's account. Now, again, know the e-bill due date for your students for this upcoming fall semester. It is September 8th. September 8th is the due date for the fall semester. And we only offer that later due date for students who are freshmen, incoming freshmen, and incoming transfers. So, that's why we provide that later date to give those students an opportunity to work out any details as it relates to how they're going to pay their semester bill. And we ask you to also make sure that the semester bill and any monthly statements are paid on time. Now, here at Towson, if there is any outstanding balances for the semester of more than $250, future registration will be suspended until that balance is paid down to $250. That's how we do business here. However, we understand that, sometimes, a student may not be providing you with a copy of their monthly statement. But I encourage you as a parent to make sure that your students follow up on all emails from the bursar's office so that they don't run into a situation whereby their registration is denied because of an outstanding balance. Have your student complete the release of information form so that if you call the bursar's office or the Office of Financial Aid to inquire about any information, we can verify who we're speaking with, and we can verify that the release of information was completed for you. But without it, we can only talk to the student because it is their account, and we do need to comply with the FERPA regulation. Now, one thing about the bill is that, when my daughter was a freshman here, she got her first bill. And did she give it to me? No. 2 weeks before the bill was due, one of my bursar associates said, "Tom, your daughter, Shelby, hasn't had her bill paid." I was embarrassed. I was the director of the bursar's office, and my daughter's bill had not been paid. Well, of course, I made sure that got paid. However, I knew that I was not going to be faced with that consequence ever again of not being aware that a bill was due. So we have set up a program whereby your student can designate you as an authorized user of their e-bill. Now, they can only do it for you. You cannot do it for yourself. You have to have your student authorize you, and they can do that by coming to the bursar's website, and there is a link for them to be able to set that up so that you become an authorized user of their e-bill. You, as well as your student, will get an email from the bursar's office that the e-bill is available for pickup. You will have full access to their financial account so that you can review their financial account as it relates to the charges and any payments that may be made. However, it is very important that you have your student go ahead and authorize you as a user of their account so that they can have you have full access of the e-bill as well as their financial account. Now, we also want to make sure that your student signs up through the Disbursement Online Center. That's Bank Mobile. There's a link on our website whereby the student can sign up. And again, I emphasize the importance of signing up for the electronic fund transfer to a checking account or savings account. It is the most efficient, quick method to receive these funds, and it works out really well. But your student does need to sign up as it relates to how they would like to receive their refunds or financial aid rebate. And then finally, have your students sign up for the online version of the 1098T tax credit form. That will certainly help you as a parent following your taxes, and it also saves the university some funds as it relates to mailing expenses, postage, and so forth. It is available for your student to receive the electronic version. Next slide, please. So where can you find the Office of Financial Aid and the Bursar's Office? We are in the Enrollment Services Center. You can't miss this building. It's the only building on campus that looks like a World War II bunker. We both live on the 3rd floor, and we are on the western end of the campus. Next slide. So here are the contact information for the Bursar's Office and the Office of Financial Aid. We both have excellent websites. There is a great deal of information on our websites, frequently asked questions. We ask you to go ahead and utilize that as your first attempt to see if there is an answer to your question on our website. If not, please don't hesitate to give us a call. We do have individuals who will be more than happy to take your telephone call, or you can email us and we will certainly respond back to you. We just asked you to give us a little time as it relates to responding to any emails, as it relates to any questions that you may have. But we asked you to use the first attempt of utilizing our websites as a means to find an answer to maybe a question that you may have. Next slide, please. And finally, I and Deb would like to thank you for your attention, and we certainly enjoyed doing this presentation.
Thank you, Tom and Deb. Unfortunately, folks, we don't have time to take any questions about your students' individual accounts or some of your more specific problems. But I did want to pass on one question that seems to be on a few folks' minds. Tom, a Maryland 529 plan, would that be considered a third-party payment and operate the same way?
Yes, it is. It is a third-party payment, and what we encourage the individual who will be contacting Maryland Prepaid to make a copy of the bill, get a copy of the authorization form on the Maryland Prepaid College Trust website, and also identify that you want to have the payment made directly to Towson University. That will certainly expedite to have the funds posted onto your student's account that you authorized. But that is referred as a third-party payment, yes.
Excellent. And then the most popular question was, can I receive the bill? And you covered that on making having your student make you an authorized user. But someone asked, do you have to have your student do that every year, or do they?
No, it's one time. Once it is set up, it's good for their entire academic career here at Towson University.
Fantastic. I think that covers all of our general questions. And like Tom and Deb said, their contact information was available on this slide. And so please feel free to contact them to get the rest of your questions answered. Oh, I did receive one more question several times. Tom, can you talk about when bills are posted for first-year students, how that process works?
Sure. The bill is processed based upon the enrollment for a class schedule for the fall semester. So depending on when your student actually signs up for their classes, that is generally the next week is when the bill will be processed and an email will be sent to your student. But it's all based upon the enrollment, the class schedule, is how the bill is generated.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, next up we have Katie Cordwell joining us from Housing and Residence Life. So thank you, Tom and Deb, and I'm going to turn it over to Katie.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Hello, everyone. My name is Katie Cordwell. I am the Assistant Director for Business and Administrative Services for Housing and Residence Life. So I manage our front office and all of our contracting and assignments process for all students. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what your student can expect while living on campus. If you have a student that has not already applied for housing, we do still have space available. Quick caveat that our student housing gateway where a student would submit their application is down through June 28th. But on June 28th, they can go in and apply and we would send them a housing offer to be able to secure a space with us for the fall. So some information about living on campus. Our move-in for new students is Wednesday, August 25th and Thursday, August 26th. And we will be sending out detailed move-in information to students' TU email account before 4th of July. So right in that early July timeframe, about what they can expect for move-in, where to go, what everything is going to be like. And what is it like to live on campus? So all of our residence halls and all of the floors within those locations, they do have a resident assistant, and that's an upper class student staff member, that's a sophomore or above, that lives on the floor with your student, and they help to build community and form connections between the residents on the floor, as well as connect the students to resources available on campus so that they can become more acclimated and connected to the university. Within our buildings, we also have live-in professional staff, master's level professionals that supervise the resident assistants. They're called our residence life coordinators, and they actually live within the building. So some information about what it's going to be like living on campus. The university does have a vaccine requirement, so that will apply to students living within our residence hall. That process is being managed by the health center, both the vaccination and exemption process. So we will not have any access to students' vaccine status, just that they've completed the process through the health center and are permitted to live on campus. For roommates, students had the opportunity on their housing application to mutually request a roommate. And if they did not, then we will randomly assign a roommate to the student. And we do not ask information such as, what time do you like to wake up? What time do you go to bed? How loud? How quiet? The reason why is we found once students come to college, they behave differently than they did at home. So you may be an early morning person during high school because high school starts early in the morning. So you think that that's what you will naturally be doing. And that is not what you naturally do once you come to college. So we really place a lot of value on our roommate agreement, which students complete during their first 2 weeks of living together, where they come up with a shared set of agreements that they will adhere to while living in the space together. And then if there's ever an issue, we use that as a place to start and have a conversation with either our resident assistant or one of our residence life coordinators. Inside of all of our spaces, we do provide a number of pieces of furniture. So all of our residence hall spaces, which is where our incoming first years will be living, have an extra long twin bed, a desk and chair, a dresser closet combo, or a wardrobe, because that has a closet and dresser sort of built into it, and a micro fridge unit. If one of your students lives in an apartment, it does have all of the same furniture, except a full-size refrigerator and microwave in the kitchen. The one exception to that is we have 2 buildings, Carroll and Marshall Halls, that have extra long double beds. And some information about the safety and security within our buildings. So all of our buildings are on a card access system to unlock the front doors, stairwells, and elevators. And the only people that have access to those swipes with their one card are the students that live in that building or staff members. We have a front desk in each building that's called our community center desk that's staffed 24/7 by either student staff personnel or security personnel, depending upon the time of day. And they check to make sure that the students coming in the building are the ones that are living there. And if they're not, then they would need to be signed in and accompanied by a student that is living within the building. Here's some information about what you and your student would want to make sure you pack with you for move-in day. So things to bring are bedding and bath towels, any sort of kitchen supplies that may be needed, plates, cups, microwavable dishes. We do allow single cup coffee makers. Electronics. Things to note is that we do only accept UL approved power strip with a circuit breaker. We don't allow just plain extension cords. TV and a Roku or streaming device. We utilize Comcast Stream as our cable that's available to students, so they would need to be able to connect to that streaming service. Health and hygiene, personal toiletries, medicine, a first aid kit, hair dryer. Laundry and cleaning, there are laundry rooms available in every single residence hall that students are able to preload their one card with money to pay for each load. The loads are $125 per wash and per dry. And then any school supplies that may be needed. Things that we should leave at home: weapons, candles and incense, cooking appliances with exposed heating elements, space heaters, air conditioners. And we ask that nobody brings a microwave and refrigerator, since we do provide that. Another common thing that people may want to bring are bed risers. Our beds actually raise to quite a high height because the box spring is able to be raised on the actual bed frame. You can just submit a work order and some of our staff can come in and assist you with that. We also do not allow pets except for fish, and fish tanks cannot be bigger than 10 gallons and may not have electrical equipment. If your student does have an emotional support animal, you are able to register that through Accessibility and Disability Services. This fall, we will continue to have spaces for isolation and quarantine as necessary. All of these spaces will be single occupancy, and meals will be arranged in collaboration with our dining services staff if your student ends up needing to stay in that space. The University Health Center will do outreach to these students, and our residence life staff will always be available for support while students are in that location. The hope is, with the vaccine requirement, this will not be extremely necessary, but we want to make sure that we have it there just in case. So just some important dates that we would like to remember. Room assignments will be sent via email to your student on Friday, August 6th. That's where they will find out what building they will be living in and who their roommate will be. As I said earlier, move-in dates are August 25th and 26th. And that's so that your student can be here to be able to participate in the Welcome to TU activities, which will be taking place that weekend. And then classes start on August 30th. That is all I have. So thank you all.
Thank you, Katie. I have been answering some questions through the chat, but a common one is your relationship with Capstone for Pika Tubman. And I'm not sure if maybe you can direct folks where they should ask those questions, because I know sometimes that's a little different.
Yeah, so Pika and Tubman is managed by Capstone on Campus Management, but we have what we call a shared governance model. So they manage all of the operational and maintenance pieces, which means they do the application, they take all of the payments directly through their office. Their facilities are managed by their maintenance employees. If something breaks, it's one of their employees that comes and fixes it. But the university manages all of the residence life aspects. So that means that the resident assistants are university employees that are inside of that building. All the students that are living there still have to operate under university policies. We have that professional staff member that was discussed earlier, the residence life coordinator living within that building. But the actual like nuts and bolts of I need to sign my contract and who do I pay my bill to, that you would want to direct directly to their leasing office, which is just pekatubman@cocm.com. I will drop that in the chat for you. And all of that sort of communication will go through their office directly.
Excellent. Thank you. And then my last question, I'll continue to answer questions through the chat because I do have access to a lot of these answers, but is an air fryer allowed?
Not in our residence hall spaces. So which is where the majority of our incoming first year students will be living. We do have some flexibility in kitchen equipment inside of our apartments where there's a full-size kitchen for students to use, but not in our residence halls.
Excellent. Thank you, Katie. And like I said, I will continue to answer some of these questions through the chat. And next up, I do see our academic advising team is here. So thanks, Katie. And I'm going to turn it over to Robert and Tracy.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. Good morning, everybody. I appreciate the intro.
Good morning.
I'm going to share my screen. Catherine, can you verify you guys can see that?
Looks good.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so again, good morning, everybody. My name is Robert. I'm from Academic Advising here at Towson University. And on behalf of Academic Advising, I would like to welcome you to the university. And we're really excited to work with your students and get going. So with this presentation, my colleague and I, who will introduce ourselves in just a minute, will take you through some of the basics of what freshmen can expect, a little bit of information on how our schedules were made, and just general information about the first year experience program that our office runs at the university. While I'm going through the presentation, please feel free to put in questions in the chat. I know Catherine will be monitoring that, and we will definitely have some time at the end to answer those questions and to speak with you more. So really excited to speak with you today, and we'll get going with everything. So as I mentioned, we're from Academic Advising, and Academic Advising coordinates advising across campus of the university. Towson has a decentralized, centralized model, meaning that our department helps coordinate advising, but after the first year, most advising is done in the departments themselves. So our first year experience program, which we'll talk to you about in just a minute, is a very comprehensive program designed to support freshmen and help them transition into college. Okay. Go to my screen. Here we go. So this is who we are, who you're speaking with today. My name is Robert Karp. I'm the manager of student advising technology, which is just a fancy way of saying I deal with technology in the advising center. I've been at Towson for 15 years. So in December will be my 16th year. I love working here. I'm very dedicated to student success, and I'm excited to work with your students as well. I'm the liaison to the College of Health Professions. Every advisor in our office has a specific liaison role. So I do a lot of work with health professions, and specifically, my first year advising cohort are pre-nursing students. So you might, if you have a nursing student, they might be working with me this year. So I'm gonna let Tracy introduce herself and go on to the next slide.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Good. So my name is Tracy Sochilamis. I am Robert's colleague in the Academic Advising Center. I've been at Towson University I'm going on my 3rd year now. And prior to this, I worked at UC Riverside in California. So I'm actually a transplant in Maryland, and I love it here. I love the culture at Towson University. I felt immediately welcomed when I joined not too long ago, and I'm always excited to extend that welcome to our incoming students. I assist Robert with technology. I work with him regarding our advising software. I am also the liaison to the College of Liberal Arts. My cohort consists of open major students, so I'm one of the advisors that helps our students who aren't really sure yet what they want to do, and I help them figure that out along our time together. Could you transition us to the next slide, Robert? So what we're going to talk about today, you may be familiar with. By now, your students should have completed the pre-orientation modules online. You may have helped them with that. So some of what we're going to talk about may be a bit familiar to you, but we're going to go a little bit over what the first year or FYE experience program is, and talk to you a bit about how we built the schedules for students and cap on some resources.
Okay, so let's talk about the first year experience program. This is also known as the FYE program. So if you hear your students say my FYE advisor, that's what it's referring to. So it's a comprehensive program, and it's really structured for academic and advising purposes for incoming freshmen. So as I mentioned, we want the program to help students transition from being a high school student to a college student. And the way we do that is we assign the students each a specific first year experience advisor who has been trained in our office. They undergo a very comprehensive training program to help students, or to help them identify the needs of incoming first year students. So every student is paired with a first year professional advisor, and they can be from our office, they can be a faculty member from the departments, and we enroll them in what's called ORI 305. And ORI 305 is a non-credit course, and we use it to just structure the first year experience program. And in this course, they meet at specific times during the semester for mandatory advising. So there's some confusion when students see this on their schedule, this 305, and it has a specific date. But that is only one specific date, and that is during our orientation on the Welcome to Towson weekend, right before school starts. Aside from that one date, no other dates are listed on that FYE, and we will explain to the students when we meet with them exactly how we meet with them, how many times we meet them, and the expectations that go along with the class. So again, it's really designed to help freshmen transition. We help understand the requirements of their major, the requirements of the university in general, some what we call general education or core requirements that we'll talk to you about in a little bit, and really getting to understand the entire college experience. We want them to take control of their own academic success. We want to empower students, and the FYE program is designed to do that. So the students will be able to meet with their advisor during Welcome to Towson weekend. So that Welcome to Towson weekend, that's a comprehensive program where they move in, they meet with us in an academic session, and during that academic session, which is on the Friday prior to classes beginning, they'll spend about 3 hours with their first year experience advisor, getting to know them, understanding the FYE program, the expectations. So the role of the advisor is what you're seeing on this slide right now. So it's a link to the community. Identifying goals, working with students to identify what their academic goals are. If it's to be in a screen program like nursing, what are the requirements? How do I make my application strong? So we're going to do all of that information. We're going to help them understand what it takes to register. So for the first semester, we register the students. For the second semester and on outward, they register themselves. So we'll be giving them a lot of information on how to register, on which courses to look for, and how to really track their academic progress throughout their 4 years, making sure they understand what they need in order to graduate. So that's a little comprehensive information about the first year experience program.
So we know that what is probably a big question on a lot of your minds is how your Tiger schedule was made. How did we create their first semester schedule? All of the schedules for all of our incoming first year students are created by the professional advisors at the Advising Center. So myself, Robert Karp, and all of our colleagues. And the goal with this schedule, the intention is to get your student, your Tiger started on the right path to graduation, getting them a good head start. So we are enrolling them in major classes if they have an intended major. We are enrolling them in classes that fulfill core requirements, which I'll talk a little bit about in a moment. And ultimately, we want to set them on the right path to success. How we do this is we take a lot of information that they give us through the academic interest form or the AIF. Now, this was due May 15th. We're still accepting academic interest forms by the deadline, after the deadline. Obviously, that affects the availability of classes, but I believe we've received a majority of schedules, AIFs for schedules. Now, the academic interest form or AIF asks students a lot of information. Some of it, I'm sure you can imagine. You may have helped your student fill this out, and so you may be familiar with what it asks, but we ask them what's their major, We ask if they have preferences for the 14 core requirements and what those are. We ask if they have incoming AP, IB, or transfer credit from dual enrollment, because we know a lot of our students every year are bringing in more and more credit, and we want to avoid scheduling them in classes that they may already have credit for. We ask them, are they commuting or are they living on campus? Are they an athlete? And if so, what sport? Because training times are at different times of the week depending on what your sport is. We ask them if they're an ROTC. We ask all of these things, and through that we build them the best schedule possible based off all of these different requirements. We will weigh some categories of the AAF higher than others, so we will prioritize the major requirements, for sure, the classes that the students need, because ultimately, as I said earlier, we want to gear them toward graduation, a good start, and so we're prioritizing getting them into the classes they need. When I said earlier that we ask them what core requirements, what core classes they want, Towson University has 14 core requirements that are our general education. They're classes outside of the major classes students take to help them develop, diverse skills, be a bit more well-rounded when they leave Towson University, and making sure they're not just learning, the technical major knowledge and skills, which are obviously why they're here and they're very critical, but we also want them to develop some other skills, when they leave here. Next slide, Robert, please.
One thing I'll say real quick about the schedules, please keep in mind that with the schedules that we've made already, they are a work in progress, meaning that when we receive AP and IB credits, that's only going to happen sometime in June or July, or probably more likely in July. And when we receive those AP and IB credits, we make adjustments to the schedules if they need to be adjusted. Absolutely. So a lot of questions we get asked by a lot of students and family members is, can I make changes to my schedule at this point? And the answer is no. And we are making changes, but only those that are academically essential, meaning that my student already submitted the academic interest form, but they decided to change their major. In that case, we do need to know that, because we will make adjustments to the schedule. We will also make adjustments based on I am bringing in college credit. So for example, I see on my schedule, I have Psychology 101, but I know I'm bringing in Psychology 101 for college. In that case, we also would like to know about it so we can make that change. But any changes that are requested in terms of times or certain professors or certain classes, we can't accommodate right now. Now, the students will have an opportunity to begin to make changes to their own schedule the weekend of Welcome to Towson weekend, after they've met with their first year experience advisor, and we give them some guidance as A, how to make changes, and B, what types of changes are acceptable to make sure they're not going to drop any classes that are critical to their major and or general education requirements. If your student falls into that category of they're changing their major or they need to make a specific change, they can email email address called freshreg@towson.edu, and I just put it into the chat. So that's where you can send emails if you have questions and if you have certain instances that you think your student needs to make a change. But just to summarize, we are not making changes at this time other than academically essential. Sorry, Tracy, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. That was super important. So just briefly, obviously graduation is the goal, but is, not quite happening just yet. But I will briefly touch on what are the graduation requirements at Towson University. The first is students must complete 120 credits to graduate. Some majors at Towson will reach that cap a little easier than others. We have some smaller majors at Towson. Psychology, English, philosophy come to mind. There are others, but those are just some examples that are around 40 credits. They're great majors. They're phenomenal. I was a psych major. I love psychology, but it's a smaller major. And so students who choose majors that are a bit smaller, they can supplement by taking electives, general classes, maybe a minor, maybe a double major, in addition to the core classes to reach that 120. Some majors that are a bit larger won't have to take as many electives. Most majors will take at least a couple electives. It is really a case-by-case basis, but regardless, all students must reach 120 credits to graduate. Of those 120 credits, 32 must be upper level. So that is 300, 400 level classes that are more advanced, that build off of the early material in the major. All majors have upper level classes, so your students will be fine to reach that 32 credits requirement. Third, students must graduate with a 2.0 GPA. That's a C average. Obviously, that's not necessarily the goal. We want our students to aim much higher than that, but that is the minimum students must earn in order to graduate. They need to complete the core curriculum. So that is the 14 core requirements are general education. They range from English to math, creativity, science, history, ethics, diversity, again, to help our students become well-rounded people when they graduate. But students must complete a class in each of those 14 categories, must complete all 14 to graduate. And lastly, probably the most simplest one is they need to complete a major. It's not enough to just take classes at Towson. They have to complete a major with all of the major requirements listed.
Okay, so now what we're going to talk about briefly is supporting our students. A question we get asked a lot from family members is, how can we support our students? We obviously don't want you doing the work for them, but we definitely want you to support them. And one of the ways that you can support them is to ask them, how's it going? To ask them who their advisor is and have they met with them throughout the semester. Those are things that you can do to help support your student. But in terms of letting them do the work, they definitely need to do the work. They need to learn this on their own. They need to learn to communicate with professors and advisors and other staff members at the university, and we will help them with that transition. One of the great things about Towson, and one of the reasons why I really like working here, is that for any problem a student might encounter, be it professional, personal, or academic, there is a huge support system at Towson there for them. And their job is to be proactive in reaching out for these resources. So a lot of times we have students struggling, but they don't reach out to the resources or faculty members or advisors, and they just kind of linger. So we want the students to begin to reach out. And what's highlighted on this page is a few of these resources. So the Career Center is a professional development resource for students who are looking to get into internships, looking to work on campus, but also they have a comprehensive way to help students identify what majors they might work well with if the students are still deciding on a major. They have assessments they can do. They can do one-on-one meetings with the career counselors to help them kind of identify what would be appropriate ways they can go towards. We even have a class, a 2-credit class that can help them identify that information. And in addition, the Career Center also provides a lot of resources for students if they're getting ready for internships. So how to interview properly, how to properly behave in terms of etiquette at meetings if you're on a dinner meeting, mock interviews. We have all sorts of resources for students getting ready to get into the working world. The Tutoring Learning Center is the main tutoring center on our campus. They provide tutoring for most 100, 200 level classes. They also provide academic coaching. So students can go for a one-on-one coaching session saying, I'm really not strong in note taking. Can you give me some pointers? Writing Center is a fantastic resource if the students are not as strong in terms of their ability to write papers. The Writing Center will look at a student's outline. They'll help them brainstorm. They'll help them set things up. They'll look at their rough draft and final copy and give them feedback and edits. Professors love that students utilize this resource, and I really encourage your students to do that. And then we have the Cook Library. Not only is the library useful, it's a great place to study and you can find resources, but we have library liaisons for every major in our university. And if a student, let's say their major is psychology, they can go to the library liaison for psychology who can help them identify the best resources for papers or research they might be undergoing also. So those are a few resources, and Tracy's going to tell you about some more.
So I love that the resources Robert highlighted, I feel like those are a little more geared toward academics. And all of these resources that we're talking about, one, are resources that I recommend to my students all the time. I'm sure Robert and all of our colleagues do. It's also not a comprehensive list, but I think it is some of the essential ones that we advertise to students, particularly our first years. The resources that I'm highlighting are a little more, they're not as academic, but are definitely part of sustaining our students, making sure they are doing well on campus and able to be successful, because we need to not just offer academic support, but we also need to offer holistic support, right? Our students are people. They have a lot of different challenges, and support looks differently, across the board. One of the resources that I'm super proud of on campus is our counseling center. Our counseling center in recent years has done a tremendous amount of work to really amp up their services. They are now able to offer 24/7 mental health healthcare access and same day appointments, which I think is huge. For a lot of our students, like for me, I remember when I was an undergrad, I would always hear like, oh, it's so hard to get an appointment at the counseling center, but here we're able to offer same day service. I think that is phenomenal. They are very solution focused. They are culturally trained. They, know how to work with different people across different walks of life. And they are really here to make sure that our students are supported, that they feel supported, that they feel like they have that support network that allows them to be successful. I highlight this resource to my students a lot, and I think it's really important to talk about mental health support with a population that is going through so much, because we know that college is not easy, and especially not when you're beginning and starting that transition from high school to college. So it's a really critical resource we have. We also have the Public Communication Center. I know a lot of my students, one of the things they tell me that they hate the most is public speaking. And I tell them, well, it's something you got to learn to do. It's important to the success of their classes. I think it is an important skill to have as they transition on to the workforce. Our Public Communication Center helps students practice their presentations. It can help them choose research topics, outline a presentation, improve their communication skills, help them deal with the anxiety of public speaking, and give them a space to practice their presentation delivery. We have a Center for Student Diversity that supports our underserved student populations in a multitude of ways, academic certainly, but through many different aspects. The Center for Student Diversity is a key part of Towson University. They have a hub directly in the middle of campus at the University Union. They have spaces for students to come and hang out and just feel welcome, to meet people who have like-minded experiences. They have events all throughout the year. They offer retreats. They have staff trained in the office to help students navigate the challenges of college and just feel connected, feel like they have community. And they also do a lot of work educating the campus about various different cultures, identities, experiences. As a small example, I somewhat recently did an LGBT training with them, and that's one of the resources they offer throughout the year. So they help educate the campus as a whole, but they are here to offer support and community to students who need it. Lastly, I'll highlight Accessibility and Disability Services, another office that we work really closely with. When I was talking about the academic interest forms earlier, we work closely with ADS. If a student is reported with ADS and has a disability that requires some adjustment to their schedule, well, for example, if they need extra time to get to different classes, we'll make sure that their schedule does not have back-to-back classes, so the student can get to where they need to go, within the time that they need. So this is an office that I think does tremendous work. They really work hard to make sure that students have the accessibility that they need, and they're one of our very close partners.
So as Tracy was saying, we just have an immense support system with on campus. And one of the things that, again, ways for you to support your student, one of the most simplistic things that I ask my advisees when I see them, especially early on, is, are you eating and are you sleeping? And a couple of those, answers to those questions can give you an idea of how things are going. And for the students, it's really identifying what the issue is and then understanding what the support services are. So is it something that I'm homesick, that I'm feeling a little depressed? That's the counseling center. Is it an academic issue? Tutoring center. And that's our job as first year experience advisors, to help facilitate understanding of what the issues is and how we can help. Your student will be meeting with their first year experience advisors, mandatory, 3 times during the first semester. So a lot of support. They'll get to know them very well, and FYE advisors are very, very accessible. So they'll have lots of support as they transition into their first semester. So again, we're really thrilled to be welcome you and your students to the TU family. They're in good hands. We're very dedicated to the success of our students, and Academic Advising Center is going to be key to their success throughout the years, and we're definitely here to support them. So we thank you all very much for your attention, and we can open it up to questions now if we have time. I don't know, Catherine's going to let us know if we have some time for questions.
Yeah, you can definitely take 1 or 2 questions if we get any. The one thing that families have been asking in the chat has been about the FYE class during Welcome to TU. So Robert, could you maybe reiterate what happens during the FYE class and what their student can expect?
Yeah, so that's the academic orientation, happens that Friday, and it begins with convocation, and new student programs is part of that too, but it's kind of an academic opening to the semester. We welcome the students. We're all dressed in our regalia, and it's really a nice time for the students to kind of get introduced to the university. Then in the afternoon, they're going to meet with their first year experience advisors, and that is about a 3-hour meeting. And during that time, we're going to go over the basics of how their schedules were made, answer questions they have, make sure they understand the requirements of the first year experience program, just really get to know their first year experience advisor, be comfortable with that person, and understand the expectations of not only that we have of the students, but the students have of their advisors during the first semester. So that all happens Friday, and by the end of the day Friday, it's a long day, but the students really get a sense of what's going on, my academics, and get ready for class on Monday. So that's the goal of the academic orientation on that Friday before classes start.
The other question about FYE is that folks want to know how the FYE groups are made. Is it by major? And no, it is not an individual meeting. It is a group meeting. I'll answer that one.
That's right. So the first year experience, the Friday orientation is a group meeting where we meet with everybody at the same time. And then the meetings after that during the semester, there are 2 individual meetings and 1 more group meeting with the group. So yeah, that's something that happens. And what was the first part of the question?
How are those groups created?
Oh, right. So for the most part, we have faculty members from the major. That's the advisor we match our student up with. Now, sometimes with students who are deciding on their major, they'll be with what we call an open advisor, who takes students who are fall into that category. And occasionally, like for example, myself, I'm not from the nursing department, but I advise nursing students. But in general, the rule is we put your student with a faculty member from their major.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Robert and Tracy. I really appreciate your time today. And we are headed into a short break so that folks can look away from their screen for a little bit. We will get started in a little over 5 minutes, right at 10:50 with the Health Center. So we'll see you in a few.
Thank you very much. Welcome
Thank
to
you.
All right, folks. We are going to get started with our health center presentation. And I see Allison is here, and she is going to fill you in on everything you need to know about their services and getting your students started with their correct health record. So I'm going to go ahead and share your presentation for you, Allison, and just let me know if there's anything you need on that side.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Allison Rohrback. I'm the Associate Director here at the University Health Center. So we're going to go through our presentation here. We can go to the next slide. Catherine, thank you. So the Health Center provides a wide variety of services for your student. We actually are more of a primary care type of setting, so students can come and see us for all their health issues. You can see on here the different types of things that we can provide, including, you know, colds, flus, sore throats, but we can also do physical exams, gynecological exams for females. We have a lab, so we can draw blood if students need to have any lab services done. We do immunizations as well. You also see that massage therapy is one of our services that we provide. There's a cost for that, so it's not open to parents either. I know the parents are always asking, oh, can families take part in the massage therapy? It's only for students. But again, we want to be the primary care provider for your students. So there are a lot of places around campus that they can go. So, you know, some of the patient first and those types of places, but we're here. So we're able to provide lots of different services to your students. Next. These are our current providers. So we currently have a medical director. She's our interim medical director, Dr. Lopez. So she's a physician. And then we have a nurse practitioner and 3 PAs. You'll see them on here. We are actually in the process of hiring a new medical director. So there will be 2 physicians on staff. And we just currently hired a PA who will be starting this summer as well. So there will be 4 PAs. So all of these providers can see your students for any of their healthcare needs. Making appointments. So we are open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. There is a nurse advice line. If your student has any issues after hours on the weekends, they can call that phone number. You'll see the phone number 2466. That's actually the main phone number, the main line to the health center, which is where they can call if they want to make an appointment. The other way that most of our students make appointments is online through our health portal. And I'll go through the health portal a little bit because that's where we'll upload immunizations as well. But walk-ins are accepted for some appointments. So things that are kind of emergent types of things or things that wouldn't take a super long time. So colds and flus and sore throats, pink eyes, UTIs, those types of things. We can do walk-ins, but we really do prefer scheduled appointments. A lot of students don't do walk-ins until the end of the day when we already have a lot of appointments scheduled. So if they are going to walk in, please tell them to try to do it as early as possible. So payment and insurance. So we do participate with most major health insurance plans. You'll be able to, I always tell parents to call the back of on your card, the phone number on the back of your card. Let them know that your student is going to be coming to the health center and using our services, and just make sure that they're participating with us. We do not take copays up front. They are billed to the student's bursar account. They can also use their one card to pay for their copay if they would like to do that. We do not have a hard waiver for student health insurance, so you don't have to opt out of any health insurance plan with us, but we do have a plan through the university. If that's something that you'd be interested in, you can just go to aetnastudenthealth.com and pick Towson University from the dropdown, and you'll see all the information about those services. Immunization requirements. So this is the most important thing for you all to know because this is a requirement. All students are required to submit proof of 2 MMR vaccines, a Tdap vaccine, complete the tuberculosis risk screening questionnaire, and then if they're living on campus, we need to have information on the meningitis vaccine. So all of this needs to be completed by August 15th. And if it is not completed and sent in to us, there will be a fine of $50 placed in a student's account, and they will get a hold for their registration for the following semester. So COVID-19 vaccine guidelines. So you probably all have heard that the University System of Maryland is requiring that all Towson University students, faculty, and staff must be vaccinated against COVID-19. They are providing medical and religious exemptions if that's something that you are interested in. And towson.edu/vaxverify is where that is uploaded to. And the towson.edu/coronavirus is where you can find all that information. So this is not a health center requirement. This is a university requirement. So it can't get sent in with the other immunization information. It gets put into this VaxVerify database. So as back to the immunization requirements for us here at the health center, what you're going to want to do is to gather your immunization records for your student. So you can either print out this copy, and if you see at the bottom, there's a link that you can go to actually print out this form, and you can have your physician, your child's physician, fill out the dates of the MMR, the Tdap, the meningitis vaccine, and then they would sign and date the bottom, and you can upload that, or you can just get copies of your child's immunization record. So I know when I go to my child's physician, if I need a copy of their immunization record, they just print out a copy. It says all the immunizations they've had done and the dates. You can upload that in place of this form, and that does not need to be signed. We also take copies of that good old little blue passport kind of thing that, you know, they gave to kids when they were first born. So if you have that with all of the immunization records, we can have a copy of that as well. So uploading your immunizations. So what you're going to want to do is go to the Towson University Health Center website. So that's towson.edu/health center. And there's going to be a yellow box that says log into the Tiger Health Portal. So you're going to click on that. Oh, sorry. Can you go back to that? I'm sorry, Catherine. Can you go back? Right. So start at towson.edu/health center, just so you all can see that. Then you're going to click on the box that says Tiger Health Portal. Then this is going to take you to this page. So you're going to put in your username, your child's, they're going to put in their username and password and click proceed. And date of birth, proceed. And there's going to be these two red bars that you're going to see. One is going to say required immunization history, and one is going to say required tuberculosis risk screening questionnaire. So when you click on the first one, it's going to show you all of the different immunizations that are required. So it's going to say MMR, Tdap, meningitis. So all you're going to do then is put in the dates. So you're going to put those in through the computer. And then there's going to be a part, well, go to the next one, Catherine. Then it's going to be a link on the bottom, a box that says add immunization record. So you click on that. And that's where you're going to actually upload, whether it's the form that you printed out or that you had printed out and filled out by the physician, or the documentation that you got from the physician's office. And you're going to upload that, and then you're going to hit submit final. And just so you know, that documentation can be uploaded as a PDF. It can be uploaded as a picture, so you can take it as like a JPEG, however you want to do that. And what happens is that form then goes directly to your child's medical record. So that way we're able to verify it and see that the dates match up with the form, and then we can make them compliant for their immunizations. The next part is the tuberculosis risk screening questionnaire. So you're going to click on that. And it's going to ask a bunch of questions about whether your child was born outside of the United States, whether they've traveled frequently outside of the United States, worked in an area that is high risk. If the answers are no to everything, they would check no and hit submit final. If the answer is yes to anything, there would be additional tuberculosis blood tests that would need to be done for your student. There's a part to also upload your insurance card. So you would take a picture of the front and the back of the insurance card and upload it. So that way we have that on file as well. And then this is just the part about privacy. Please just remember that students over the age of 18 are considered adults, so their medical information does remain private. They can grant permission to share medical information episodically, so we do not accept a form or anything like that that says that you have all access to students' medical records. Please know though, in an emergency situation, so say a student was unconscious or was getting taken to the hospital or some sort of emergency situation, their designated emergency contact would be informed. So on the web portal, there's actually a part on the web portal where you can put in the student's emergency contact information. And also when they I guess sign up to be here at Towson, they put that information in as well, and it goes into a database. So we would have your information on file in case of an emergency. And then that's it. So here's my information. So I'm Allison Rohrbach. Allison Seeley is our Assistant Director of Health Education and Promotion. We put both of our names and numbers on here and direct emails because we want you to be able to contact us if you have questions. If I don't have an answer to something, I can certainly get you to the right person. But you know, anything we can help you with, feel free to call us directly or email us. Okay, so that's it for me. So now it's open up for questions.
I did get a question through the chat about the vaccine lottery through Towson. Are fall students eligible? Do you know?
I have no idea. Again, that's not a health center thing. That is, you know, a university-wide thing that they're doing, and I don't have any information about that. The best place to email that question to would be asktu, so ASKTU @towson.edu, and they would be able to get you that info.
Excellent, thank you. And then I know you mentioned that families should call the number on the back of their insurance card to make sure that their insurance is participating. Is there a TU website or portal for families to see? We got several questions about accepting specific insurances.
Sure. So just, you know, we do participate with most major health insurances. So all of the things like the Care First, the Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, United, we participate with medical assistance. We also participate with TRICARE for our veteran students. And we, like I said, most of the major health insurances we do participate with. I will tell you the times when things get a little tricky. So great example is, you know, mom and dad live in Connecticut, and mom is a teacher and she's part of the teachers union, and they have a very specific health plan through that teachers union that's part of Connecticut, and it can't be used in other areas. So those are the kinds of things that can get a little bit tricky. But on our website, so towson.edu/health center, there is a link for health insurance, and there's a list of all of the ones that we currently participate with.
Excellent. And you actually rattled off all of the ones that specifically were asked about. So perfect. And then Allison just sent me the link that I will shoot out to everyone. There you go. Another question that we have is specific to the immunization records. So for the meningitis vaccine, it's only asking for the first dose date. My student's record lists a second dose. Do you only want the first dose date?
Yeah, so whatever it says in the on the form, or you know, whatever it says as far as the like in the web portal is what we're looking for. That's all that we need. But there is a spot to list additional immunizations as well. So you know, if you send in all of the dates, our medical assistants are going to put everything into the system. So they'll put all of those in for you. So it's okay to send the second one as well.
Excellent. Any other questions for Allison? I'm not seeing any. All right. Well, thank you, Allison. And if folks need more contact information, like I said, this presentation will be posted to the website, so you'll have access to the contact information that will be most helpful for you.
All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Have a good one. All right, so next up, I want to go through some resources that are specific to you as a family member. But the first thing that I want to do, so I'm going to go ahead and start my video again. I'm going to share my screen, and I would love to show you how to get, I would say, 90% of your questions answered. And so I think we should be looking at my Google webpage. All right, great. So we're going to go to towson.edu. The best way to answer so many of your questions is to go right up here to this top right search bar. You can search for so many different topics. And so I'm going to make the example student email. So if your student had questions about how to access their email and you want to search right here, I wasn't able to help someone earlier, so this is my shot. Clicking here on student net ID and emails could help your student find the information that they need. That is probably the number one thing that I teach folks how to do during orientation. And so using this search bar is going to be your primary tool. The other thing that I want to show you is that we do have a website specifically for families, and that's towson.edu/families. And that will drop you right here to our family website. So I'm going to walk you through some things that are available to you here. The first one is our, hang on, sorry, I'm seeing some questions, I think. All right, so the first thing I'm going to walk you through is right here. So if there is one thing that you do after orientation, I hope it is to sign up for TU for Families. TU for Families is a free service for you as a family member. You do not have to have any specific credentials. Anyone can sign up for a free account. You're going to go to TU for Families and hit this button, or follow any of the many links that I will be sending you, because you are going to want to be a member. TU for Families is a website that allows you to access a portal with news and information. It will also allow you to receive periodic emails with a newsletter. And so this is what my TU for Families portal looks like right now. We update it with news, announcements, things that are specifically for families. And so you're going to want to sign up for it. It's how we generate our email list for the university as well. So if you are signed up for this newsletter, not only will you receive these news and announcements of a more general university type, you will also receive more emerging news and notes. It's how the university collects your email to let you know things like when we announced the vaccine requirement, this email list was how that went out to families. When we had to close in the fall, this email list was how families directly got that information. So you're going to want to have an account. Like I said, it's free. It's very easy to sign up. So I recommend that if you do anything after today, it's sign up for your TU for Families email. I do want to say, of course, your student gets all of those communications. So signing up for this is not your primary source of information. It should always be your student, but if you want to receive that kind of information as well, you should sign up for TU for Families. The other things that I want to point out to you, orientation, you're here. This is also where the recording of today is going to be. It should be right here on this June 21st date is where I will upload that link later. If you want to explore your students' pre-orientation module, that's still available to you. That covers a lot of information from the same folks that you're seeing today, but it's a great reference for you to go back to see some of that timely information. So if we're getting to August and you're navigating those loans populating and you want to go back and see that financial aid information, that's a great place to do that. Conversations for the car ride home. Now, I know we're virtual right now. Maybe you'll be attending an optional in-person session with your student later in the summer. But if not, this is an excellent document to help you navigate maybe challenging conversations about some of those transition pieces we talked about this morning. Things like how your student will navigate academic challenges, how will they respond to social pressures while they're here on campus. And so there are just some prompts there to help you have a good conversation with your student. It was intended for families who came to orientation and then had the car ride home to talk to their student. You might need to schedule maybe a sit down dinner or an ice cream date. But it's really important to have those conversations with your students. So we do have a resource there for you to help. And then we also recommend that you think about joining our Towson Family Network. So I'm going to show you that page. If you hit that button, it'll take you to the Family Network page. Our Family Network is a membership-based organization that allows you to support the university and efforts for our families. So supporting things like the Towson Family Network makes us able to provide the TU for Families newsletter for free. And so it supports fellow families. It also supports students here at TU. We use membership fees to help support the Student Emergency Fund and food insecurity resource for students. And so your membership fee really does go a long way. You also receive access to some perks as a Family Network member. This summer, you should be receiving a wall calendar as a member of the incoming class. But if you join the Family Network, you should receive that calendar every summer. You also have access to allow your student to apply for a scholarship, and the scholarships are typically about $1,000, a little more or less depending on the endowment that year. But if you join the Family Network, your student will be eligible to apply to one of these scholarships. And you also sometimes get some additional perks thrown in, like discounts to events during family weekend. And we try to do whatever we can to support our members of the Family Network. We also have leadership opportunities through the Family Network. There is a board that helps manage their outreach and operations. And so if you're interested in participating beyond just donating to become a member, there are opportunities to join our board. And so here you can see some of our current board members. The last thing that I want to tell you specifically about our families is that we do have a family weekend, and that is coming up, I think, sooner than any of us want to think about. But this year it is in October, so save the date, Friday, October 8th through Sunday, October 10th. We love to highlight lots of things going on campus. So our schedule hasn't been created yet because some of those things are still being finalized for the fall, but I can confirm there will be a football game. We often have a crab feast. I don't know if any of y'all have okay, I was frozen for a second. The price of crab in Maryland is outrageous. So we're seeing if we can get that off the ground again. But we will have lots of events for you. Hopefully it's a great time for you to reconnect with your student after they've been on campus for a little bit. But we are hoping that you will save that date for October 8th through 10th. So those are some of the resources that we have specifically for you as families. I'm going to stop. Oh no. My computer is decided to freeze on me.